Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam, Shishya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, to Vishwanath Prabhu, Pravan Prabhu, Ritesh Prabhu, Aarti Mataji for the chanting today. We'll continue with our Mangalacharan, prayers, and then reading of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay, anybody who would like to sing today? Radha Kataksh. Yamati, will try.
Sure, Prabhu. I don't know the tune though, but I can try.
Sure, go ahead, Mataji. Yeah.
मुनीन्द्रवृन्दवन्दिते त्रिलोकशोकहारिणि प्रसन्नवक्त्रपङ्कजे निकुञ्जभूविलासिनि व्रजेन्द्रभानुनन्दिनि व्रजेन्द्रशूनुसङ्गते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशोकवृक्षवल्लरी वितानमण्डपस्थिते प्रवालवालपल्लवा प्रभारुणागरी कोमले वराभ्यस्फुरदकर्रे प्रभूतसम्पदालये कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनङ्गरङ्गमङ्गला प्रसङ्गभङ्गुरुभ्रुवां सविभ्रमां सभ्रमां दृग् अन्तबाणपाटने निरन्तरं वसीकृता प्रतीतिनन्दनन्दने कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् तदित्तसुवर्णचम्पकप्रदीप्तगौरविग्रहे मुखप्रभा परास्तकोटिसारदेन्दुमण्डले विचित्रचित्रसञ्चरचकोरसावलोचने कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मदोन्मन्दतैयुवने प्रमोदमानमण्डिते प्रियानुरागरञ्जिते कलाविलासपण्डिते अनन्यधन्यकुञ्जराजकामकेलिकोविदे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशेषहावभावधीरहीरहारभूषिते प्रभूतसातकुम्भकुम्भकुम्भिकुम्भसुस्तनि प्रशस्तमण्डहास्यचूर्णपूर्ण सौख्यसागरे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मृणालवालवल्लरीतरङ्गरङ्गदोर्लते लताग्रलास्य लोलनीललोचनावलोकने ललल्लुलन्मिलन्मनोज्ञा मुग्धमोहनाश्रिते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् सुवर्णमालिकाञ्चित त्रिरेखकम्बुकण्ठगे त्रिसूत्रमङ्गलीगुणत्रिरत्नदीप्तिदीप्ति सलोलनीलकुन्तले प्रसूनगुच्छगुम्फिते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् नितम्बबिम्बलम्ब लम्बमान् पुष्पमेखलागुणे प्रशस्तरत्नकिङ्किणी कलापमध्यमञ्जुले करेन्द्रसुन्दरदन्तिकावरोहसौभगकोरखे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनेकमन्त्रनादमञ्जुनूपुरावरस्खलत् समाजराजहंसवंसनिकवन्नतिगौरवे विलोलहेम विलोलहेमवल्लरी विचारु चङ्क्रमे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनन्तकोटिविष्णुलोकनम्रपद्मजार्चिते हिमाद्रिजा पुलोमजा विरिञ्चिजावरपदप्रदे अपारसिद्धिरिद्धिदिक्तसत्तपदाङ्गुलिनखे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मखेश्वरी क्रियेश्वरी स्वदेश्वरी सुरेश्वरी त्रिवेदभारतीश्वरी प्रमाणशासनेश्वरी रमेश्वरी शमेश्वरी प्रमोदकाननेश्वरी व्रजेश्वरी व्रजाधिपे श्रीराधिके नमोऽस्तु ते इति इति ममाभृतं स्तवं निस्तम्य भानुनन्दिनी करोतु सन्ततं जनं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् भवेत् तदयैव सञ्चित त्रिरूपकर्मनाशनं भवेत् तदा व्रजेन्द्रशूनुमण्डलप्रवेशनम् हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा sorry Prabhu I couldn't do well but thank you.
Hare Krishna. No, no, it was all good, Mataji. Thank you so much. Shrimati Radharani ki jai. Shri Radha Kapra Kataksh ki jai. Shri Vyasadev ki jai. Okay. You would like to read the translation also, Mataji? Okay.
Sure, I can do that.
Mhm.
Okay. May Sri Vrishbhanu Nandini, upon hearing my astonishing prayer recited, bestow her most merciful sidelong glance upon the speaker. At that time, one will feel all the effects of past, present, and future karma completely destroyed and gain entrance into the assembly of Nanda Nandans, Krishna's eternal loving devotees. That aspiring devotee who chants this prayer on the full moon day, waxing 8th lunar day, 10th lunar day, 11th lunar day, Ekadashi, and 13th lunar day will find that his mind and intelligence become pure. Each and every desire will be fulfilled without fail, and by the most merciful sidelong glance of Sri Radha, one will obtain pure ecstatic love, prema. The aspiring devotee who recites this prayer 100 times while in the waters of Sri Radha Kund up to the thighs, navel, chest, or neck attains complete perfection in religiosity, economic development, fulfillment of desires, and liberation. The power by which everything spoken will come true, and great opulence from attaining transcendental majesty. At that time, one gets to meet Sri Radhika face to face, seeing her even with one's own present eyes, and Sri Radhika becomes so pleased that she instantly bestows the greatest benediction of being able to see her own beloved Shyam Sundar Krishna with one's present eyes. Then Lord Krishna, the Lord of Vrajdam, grants one entrance into his eternal ecstatic pastimes, which is the only goal for which true Vaishnavas hanker. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shri Mataji. Okay. So, yes, complete perfection. Complete perfection is what Prabhupada is teaching his disciples. As we continue Prabhupada Lilamrit, Prabhupada says, I have done my part, but as he is, his life, like we said yesterday, it was a lifetime preparation, and that lifetime preparation is also for death. So, death is the final exam, as Prabhupada used to say, and but while he's preparing for his final days, he is also preparing his disciples in the process of complete perfection by making them pure devotees with the simple process of chanting the holy names and reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Just by those simple things, he is continuing to preach. So that is the simplicity of pure Vaishnavas, that not complex. Like, again, I was thinking, going back to your first letters of all of you today, Shriya Mataji starting with you, and then the VIPRA, like Sudama Vipra. I was remembering Sudama was such a gentle-hearted and simple friend of Lord. So like that, it doesn't matter. That's the Vipra. Vipra is a Brahmin. So Sudama is referred to as Sudama Vipra in the scriptures. So like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, right? Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Ke Ninaya, He Krishna Tattvavita, Sei Guru Haya. So we just have to understand the science of Krishna as Srila Prabhupada has taught us. Then it doesn't matter whether we are a Vipra or a sannyasi or a Shudra or a, whatever Varnashram we may be in. As long as we are following the instructions of our acharyas, then we can become Guru who can teach the science of Krishna consciousness in its purest form to others, because this is the purest science without any tinge of um, contamination with any of the other uh, aspects in terms of desires and wants of materialistic desires or bhakti mukti siddhi. So nothing is tinged in bhakti. We have to get beyond bhakti, mukti, and siddhi. That is the karma yoga. Sometimes people who are still on the path of karma yoga, karmis, they may be focusing on bhakti. And the jnani yogis, ashtanga yogis, they may be focusing on mukti and siddhis. But the bhaktas, pure devotees, they only focus on bhakti, which is uncontaminated. So that is the process Prabhupada is teaching. Okay, so let's continue. Sometimes during the chanting, Srila Prabhupada would communicate unspoken feelings with his disciples. He might simply glance at one of the devotees, but that devotee would feel a surge of loving emotion and realization. Suddenly, he would understand better how pure and compassionate Srila Prabhupada was, and the devotee might recall how Srila Prabhupada had come and saved him, bringing him to Krishna consciousness. Thus, the GBC men, while chanting and becoming purified, were rededicating themselves, hoping that Krishna would accept them as surrendered souls. They asked that Krishna bless them and make them fit for whatever happened. Do not leave me, Prabhupada said at one point. Are you feeling better? Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked. Yes, I am feeling a little better. Go on administering the medicine. At Srila Prabhupada's request, the devotees staying with him between 1:30 a.m. read to him from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He would usually be on the roof then, sitting up in a bed. A few bare bulbs would light the darkness, and all would be quiet and still except for the sound of the devotee reading. After one such reading, Srila Prabhupada asked Rupanuga about the preaching in Washington, D.C. Rupanuga replied briefly, and then he and Balwanta began talking about deprogramming. Then Rupanuga said he had written a prayer to the higher authorities and asked if he could read it to Srila Prabhupada. O superior Vaishnavas, O compassionate Acharyas of the holy name, O supreme authorities, master of our fate, have mercy upon us. We are not able to make any prayers, but this is an emergency. Shastra teaches that because of disciples' bad behavior or to allow some personal service or to exhibit ecstatic symptoms, the spiritual master may display bad health, although he so kindly says it is simply due to old age and personal neglect of his health, meaning that he has worked too hard to save us. But we may not speculate upon the mind of the acharyas. Please hear our petition. We pray for the kindness of our God, of our grandfather, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is by nature merciful upon his spiritual grandchildren. We pray for the continued compassion of the six Goswamis, who are already famous in all the three worlds for saving conditioned souls. We pray for the benediction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most magnanimous Supreme Personality of Godhead. We pray to Srimati Radharani, Queen of Vrindavan, protector of our neophyte bhakti, and we pray to Lord Krishna himself, whom we cannot even approach without the guidance of our Srila Prabhupada. We, the fallen servants of His divine grace, beseech all of our masters, please give Srila Prabhupada more time. Time to ensure the strength of this movement, time to finish the Srimad Bhagavatam, and a little more time for us to spend at the lotus feet of His divine grace, that we may become pure devotees by His mercy. We implore you, these 10 years have passed so quickly and we are caught far too short of perfection. You know that actually only 10 milliseconds have passed in eternal time. Therefore, kindly extend His stay, lest we fall from the spiritual path. O Vaishnava saints, O Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our eternal grandfather, O six Goswamis of Vrindavan, O Radharani, mother of Bhakti, O Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the master of all, O Lord Krishna, the final repose of our love, O Vaishnavacharyas, kindly have mercy on us. Please don't yet take Srila Prabhupada away. Kindly grant this emergency prayer. Either way, said Prabhupada, I have no objection to stay or leave. He said there was a Bengali saying that if a denki, a wheat threshing machine, goes to heaven, what will it do there? It will thresh wheat because the thresher is constituted in a particular way. It will thresh wherever it goes. Similarly, the pure devotee, whether he is in the material world or the spiritual world, will serve Krishna. In this way, Srila Prabhupada was indicating that he had no personal anxiety, but he had also indicated that although everything was dependent on Krishna, the prayers of the devotees might influence Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's disciples, humbly considering themselves neophyte devotees, took it as a sign of Prabhupada's protective mercy that he said their prayers could keep him with them, and that he, although an eternal exalted associate of Krishna, liked to be with his tiny disciples. My Guru Maharaj was disgusted, he had said, but I like your company. A sannyasi disciple read aloud a prayer he had written, petitioning the Supreme Lord for Prabhupada to live for 100 years. On hearing this, Srila Prabhupada opened his eyes wide and smiled, but again he pointed out that he was not afraid of death. Wherever he was, he said, he was in Vaikuntha. Especially being in Vrindavan and being surrounded by the kirtan of his disciples was Vaikuntha. Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj told Prabhupada that he had offered a prayer in the temple that morning while standing before Krishna and Balaram. Krishna has done so many miracles, he said, so it would not be very amazing if he kept Prabhupada alive. And Balaram was also supporting all creation, would not be weakened if he gave Srila Prabhupada a little strength. In this way, Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, we may all pray to Krishna Balaram to save you. We are not very important, but still they may hear. No, Prabhupada said, you are all pure devotees with no other motives. Srila Prabhupada regarded the petitions of his disciples as expressions of sincere affection, not at all improper spiritually, but he pointed out that it was ultimately up to Krishna. He had his plan. In any case, Prabhupada said that he would be all right. He told the story of a sage who blessed different persons in different ways. The sage blessed a prince to live a long life, since after death he would be punished for his sensual life. The sage also blessed an ascetic to die at once so as to be relieved of the suffering of his austerities and receive his pious rewards. But when asked to bless a pure devotee, the sage said that because the devotee had already obtained the lotus feet of Krishna, his condition would be the same, whether he lived or died. Prabhupada knew, even better than his disciples, that there was much he could do if he remained in the world, but he simply wanted to see what Krishna desired. He saw strong evidence, however, that his life was about to end, at least according to the condition of his physical body, and this in itself indicated that Krishna's desire was that he soon leave this world. The GBC men met and decided that aside from Prabhupada's will, which would secure the ISKCON properties, and aside from making all the bank accounts within ISKCON secure, there were also a few questions which they should put before Prabhupada before it was too late. These questions, such as how future disciples would be initiated, would have to be answered. Otherwise, they would become a source of speculation and havoc after Srila Prabhupada's departure. A selected committee from the GBC came before Srila Prabhupada as he sat up in bed in the main room downstairs. Satsvarupadas Goswami Maharaj was to be the spokesman, but he felt shy and uneasy. To come directly before Srila Prabhupada and ask about what should be done after his passing away might seem impertinent, but it was necessary. Srila Prabhupada himself had requested that the GBC come to Vrindavan to take care of exactly this kind of business. Besides, for a disciple to feel foolish and awkward before Srila Prabhupada was normal, and certainly the mission of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, continuing his movement, was so grave that its importance transcended the awkwardness of the moment. Nevertheless, Srila Prabhupada was Srila Prabhupada, and even though apparently invalid, he was as awesome as ever. If he were displeased with the questions, then it would be frightening. Srila Prabhupada, said Satsvarup Maharaj, we were all asked by the rest of the GBC to come to ask some questions. These are the members of the original GBC as you first made it out. Our first question is about the GBC members. We want to know how long should they remain in office. Srila Prabhupada spoke slowly and deeply. They should remain for good. Selected men are chosen so that they cannot be changed. Rather, if some competent men are found, they should be added. Srila Prabhupada took the opportunity to recommend that Vasudeva become a GBC member representing Fiji. Add him, said Prabhupada, but the GBC is not to be changed. Satsvarupa asked what to do if a GBC member gave up his post, and Prabhupada said that the GBC body should elect another man. Our next question, Satsvarupa proceeded, concerns initiation in the future, particularly at that time when you are no longer with us. We want to know how a first and second initiation would be conducted. Yes, said Prabhupada, I shall recommend some of you. After this is settled up, I shall recommend some of you to act as officiating Acharya. Tamal Krishna Maharaj interjected. Is that called Ritvik Acharya? Yes, Prabhupada said, Ritvik. Then what is the relationship of that person who gives the initiation? Asked Satsvarupa Maharaj. He is Guru, said Prabhupada. But he does it on your behalf, said Satsvarupa. Yes, that is formality, because in my presence one should not become Guru. So on my behalf, on my order, Amara Agyaya Guru Haya. He is actually Guru, but on my order. So they may also be considered your disciples, said Satsvarupa, referring to those persons initiated on Prabhupada's behalf by the Ritvik Acharya. They are their disciples, said Srila Prabhupada. Now he was speaking of initiations after his passing away. They are the disciples of the one who is initiating, and they are my grand disciples. When I order you to become Guru, you become regular Guru, that's all. And they become the disciples of my disciple. The GBC members present were satisfied that Srila Prabhupada's reply to the intricate inquiry was clear and conclusive. Later, he would elect some of you, and whoever he selected would become an initiating guru. What he had already described many times throughout his Bhaktivedanta purports was now being implemented. His disciples would become gurus and accept disciples of their own. Satsvarupa Maharaj then asked about the BBT. At present, he said, no translated works are to be published without your seeing and approving them. So the question is there any system for publishing works in the future? Works that you may not see? That we may have to examine expertly, Prabhupada replied. He accepted the principle that future works could be translated from Sanskrit, but he cautioned, but amongst my disciples, I don't think there are many who can translate properly. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, Kirtananda Swami, we think that you cannot leave us very soon. I don't want to, said Prabhupada, but I'm obliged. What can I do? If you don't want, then Krishna won't want, said Kirtananda. Srila Prabhupada went on to describe the special qualifications for translating Sanskrit Vaishnava literature. It would take a realized soul, he said. Otherwise, simply by imitating ABCD, it will not help. My purports are liked by people because it is presented as practical experience. It cannot be done unless one is realized. It is not a matter of scholarship, added Bhagavan. Lord Chaitanya says, said Srila Prabhupada, Amara Agyaya Guru Haya. One who can understand the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can become Guru. Or one who understands his Guru's order in Parampara, he can become Guru. And therefore, I shall select some of you. By repeating himself, Prabhupada emphasized his point. He would select who would be Guru. And he also repeated his other point. So there is no question of changing GBC. Rather, one who is competent, he can be selected to add by the vote of the GBC. Of course, if someone falls away, Tamal Krishna proposed, just like in the past, GBC men have fallen down, they should be replaced, said Prabhupada. They must be all ideal Acharya. In the beginning, we have done for working, but now we should be very cautious. Anyone who is deviating, he can be replaced. There are few questions answered. The GBC men sat silently before Srila Prabhupada, awaiting any further instructions, but anxious not to tire him with their presence. So, Srila Prabhupada, said Tamal Krishna Maharaj, there is a chanting party ready to do some kirtan. Maybe they can come in? Srila Prabhupada had already given the outline for his will to Tamal Krishna Goswami. The GBC would be the ultimate governing authority in ISKCON. 3 trustees would be assigned to each ISKCON property. The money in Prabhupada's name in various banks would become ISKCON's property. A small pension would be allowed for his ex-wife and sons. Even while the GBC was gathered to make a thorough draft and make the will legal, Srila Prabhupada received a visit that made him anxious over his ISKCON society. One of the Goswamis of a Vrindavan temple visited and praised Srila Prabhupada. But in the course of the conversation, the man asked, after you, who will take charge of the property? As soon as the gentleman left, Srila Prabhupada called for Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Bhavananda Goswami also gathered. In India, you can understand there is an undercurrent, said Srila Prabhupada. Undercurrent? Tamal Krishna repeated. An undercurrent is going on, said Prabhupada, that after my demise, it may be taken away from your hands. Phew. You understood that from this discussion? Asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I understood it long ago, said Prabhupada. How are you going to guard yourselves? Once again, it was Prabhupada who had to make them aware of worldly wisdom. You ordered that we form a trust property with lifelong trustees, said Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Actually, this property is the envy of all India. They are the best properties. They envy our prestige. said Srila Prabhupada. Our position, everything, everywhere we are first class. For Srila Prabhupada, a will meant protection for his ISKCON. As Srila Prabhupada had explained, a devotee has not a tinge of self-interest. Everything is for Krishna. But in his purity, he must not be naive. ISKCON was a large, growing organization of properties and monies intended 100% for use in the devotional service of Sri Krishna. Srila Prabhupada called on the GBC to be vigilant. While his GBC men discussed privately the details of the will, Srila Prabhupada lay in bed anxiously concerned about ISKCON's properties. He didn't attempt to eat, and Upendra had to massage his chest. Later that day, while surrounded by a sweetly chanting group of devotees, he again brought up the thread. There is a big plot going on, he began. They are very troublesome. Tamal Krishna, who knew what Prabhupada was talking about, said, "This should be done immediately. Make a trust property." "This shall be done," said Srila Prabhupada. "Very nice." What Prabhupada was asking was not unusual, but it had to be done soundly, expertly, and that meant Srila Prabhupada would have to do it himself. He wanted no more management, but could his disciples assure him on his point of greatest anxiety that the institution's properties and monies would be protected? Tamal Krishna spoke up to assure Prabhupada of the GBC's competence to deal with this. "This shall be done for all the properties," he said, "but especially here in India." Srila Prabhupada, said Bhavananda Goswami, "the trustees should be designated." "Trustee without designation," Prabhupada replied. "Where is trustee? I have already made one draft of trustees for the book trust. In that style, make it." "Yes," said Tamal Krishna. "So we will make up a draft on that style, and after that draft is approved, you can tell us which trustees you want." "Oh, you can select amongst yourselves," said Prabhupada. "Why are you taxing me?" When Tamal Krishna mentioned that the three places in India, Bombay, Vrindavan, and Mayapur, were the most important, Srila Prabhupada replied, "Everywhere." Then he added, "Among yourselves, there is no strong man. That is the difficulty." "That is a fact," admitted Tamal Krishna Maharaj. "All my child," said Srila Prabhupada, a statement of love but not of relief, "and it requires a very strong man. That is lacking. In every minor detail, I have to open my mouth. Anyway, whatever you have got, sit down and select trustees, and that format is there. Make it a trust. Among you, Rameshwara is a little intelligent. Anyway, do your best. Otherwise, there is a very, very big undercurrent. They are waiting for your program." Tamal Krishna Maharaj assured Prabhupada that they would immediately have a meeting. "We will discuss these points." "Oh, discussion I have already given you," said Prabhupada. "Do it." "What I meant," said Tamal Krishna, "is we will execute it." "All right," said Prabhupada. "Don't delay." At times like this, it became especially clear that the day was approaching when Prabhupada's children would have to grow up and lead, manage, protect, and expand a society on their own. These might well be their last chances to learn directly from him and to be close with him for chanting the holy name and dedicating themselves utterly to carrying out his desires for ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada seemed to be doubting whether his children would rise to the occasion, and that expressed doubt impelled them not to discouragement but to determined action to prove themselves loyal and competent. Okay, so let's pause here. Yeah, so Prabhupada is making them not just pure devotees, but he's also making them competent. Okay, anybody else would like to share your thoughts, comments, anything that you liked from today's reading?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna everyone. I was just reflecting that it would have been like so hard for the devotees who were present there, especially the senior ones who like the Krishna Goswami Maharaj and others that that was, I mean, really difficult situation, and how wonderfully the disciples have handled it and grown so far is incredible. Yeah, just thinking about that, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Yeah, that was his Vapu association, physical association, and they were realizing, at least, like we were saying yesterday, Krishna orchestrates everything. So Krishna didn't take Srila Prabhupada away from them immediately, but he gave them time that way they could prepare. And Prabhupada also wanted his disciples to learn from him personally and not to repeat the mistakes of his Guru Maharaj's disciples, what they did, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples when they fought between themselves and had faction and then separated and created so many different factions within the society of Gaudiya Math. So here at least we see that Prabhupada's, Krishna is giving them adequate time and um, opportunity to learn from Srila Prabhupada at the end as to what to do and what not to do. Both are important. And yeah, some very, very important instructions here today. Prabhupada clearly said here that that the the disciples who would be initiating gurus, he will let them know, but then the disciples of those gurus will be their disciples, and they will all be grand disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So it is very, very clear from Prabhupada's instruction and from Prabhupada's purports and from Bhagavad Gita. We understand this is Evam Parampara Praptam. So this is the disciplic succession that is going on, starting all the way from the Lord to Brahmaji, Narad Muni, at Vyasadeva. So this parampara is going on. It is not like it stops at one acharya, right? And so that's the revelation that Prabhupada clearly quoted here. And that's where I think there is some discrepancy that has happened with the Ritvik followers who consider Prabhupada as the final acharya in the movement, and they don't value Prabhupada's disciples, which is unfortunate. I mean, everything else they're practicing nicely, but yeah, just this one point, I think there is a ideological misunderstanding. So hopefully, by Prabhupada's mercy, everybody may understand that and may follow Prabhupada's instructions. But yeah, all these disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they are whatever that the final instructions that they understood from Srila Prabhupada, they executed, like he said, we will execute it, Tamal Krishna Maharaj said. So yeah, they executed it so nicely, not just executed, but executed so nicely that I'm sure Prabhupada would be so happy that where his movement is today is because of the sincerity, dedication, and the purity of his disciples who have taken this movement forward for the last 50 years. Okay. Anything else anybody would like to say, share? One other thing Prabhupada said was about GBC, yeah, the General Body Commission, which is again something that we have today. As we all know, we had our GBC for our Ohio and many other states in Northeast. His Grace Anuttama Prabhu, he was here last month during Kartik. So that is the ultimate management authority in ISKCON, as Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that today, that GBC should be considered the ultimate management authority. So we should obey the instructions of GBC. GBC is like the representative, it's the physical body of Srila Prabhupada. So like again, in material world, people once they die, they pass away, they're gone. But in spiritual realm, Vaishnava, pure devotee, and Acharya lives forever, right? Not just through Vapu, physical association, but through Vani, right? Just as Krishna's instructions are eternal, right? So Srimad Bhagavad Gita, even though it's thousands of years old, but actually not even thousands is just now, but it's millions and millions of years old. It was already spoken to Suryadev. So, but still, even today, we see how much relevant Srimad Bhagavad Gita is, right? Because it is a song of Lord, words of Lord, instructions of the Lord. So similarly, instructions of the Acharyas also, by the mercy of the Lord, they also have that similar potency that they are eternal. And those instructions that Prabhupada gave, so GBC, he said, is the ultimate management authority. So even though he left, but still, yes, that instruction holds true, and anything that Prabhupada said holds true. So we should follow that instruction sincerely and follow the guidance of GBC in whatever management decisions we are taking and how we are governing ISKCON as a society in each of the centers, not just here, but across the country, across the world. So GBC has been organized like that, and he said clearly that, yeah, all the GBC men should stay. And if any other competent men are found, they should be added. And like that many of Prabhupada's disciples who were part of the GBC, they stayed. That is kind of their service that they served in GBC for lifetime. So like that, yeah, whatever services we also have the opportunity to do, should try our best. That by the should pray sincerely, and we should try to execute our services without stopping them. And we should follow the instructions of GBC especially. So yeah, so as earlier it was Grace Mother Malati who was our GBC. Now it is His Grace Anutama Prabhu. He comes here once or twice a year. So yeah, we just follow their instructions. Okay, anything else? Anybody else would like to say anything? Shriya Mataji, Prabhakar Prabhu, anything from you all? Pavan Prabhuji. Okay. All right. If nothing else, I know we had a wonderful festival yesterday, Thanksgiving celebration. Hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving. And again, we are grateful for Srila Prabhupada. Like we were saying, the ABCD Prabhupada was saying it's not just ABCD, but it's very deep ABCD. That we said between the birth and death, it's a journey between birth and death. And C is not just the choices that we make, but the choices that we make are the spiritual choices. So yesterday we made the choice of chanting, of having this wonderful mantra, kirtan, mantra meditation to elevate our consciousness. So the choices that we make to chant and elevate our consciousness. So that is the C between the B and D of birth and death. So if we make those choices to chant the holy name and elevate our consciousness, then our lives will be perfect. So that should be our mood and that should be our sincere endeavor. Okay, so with that, let's conclude for today. Thank you so much for your kind association. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnavindi ki jai Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Hari Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam Hari Krishna